Hey there, people. This is Bad Doc Boone. Welcome to another episode of Bad Doc Boone Sonic Cellar. And today we're doing part two of the Christmas songs you won't likely hear on your local holiday music station. Given that Christmas is literally days away, and we got about roughly, as I film this, 36 hours maybe, it does seem fitting that we go to some holiday music at this time of year. And yes, I know we're focused on Christmas music, mainly because there's a lot more of that than there is Hanukkah or other holidays. So, yesterday we did the first four. We're going to do another 3 or 4 today. And we'll wrap up with maybe 2, maybe 3 more tomorrow. Anyway, there is no ranking here. Just going off the top of my head. Our first, anyway, before I go ahead, I almost forgot. If you like what you're seeing, hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we're going to put some new videos on there. Anyway, welcome to part 2 of our Christmas songs you won't likely hear on your local holiday music station. Our first selection is a little ditty from 1981 by a reunited group called the Malibooz, spelled M-A-L-I-B-O-O-Z, or in a lot of other countries, it'd be spelled M-A-L-I-B-O-O-Z. It's a little track called Santa's Gone Surfing. Yes, it is surf rock here. It's a breezy little number full of reverb, clean guitar about Santa deciding to ditch the North Pole and go for warmer climates and go surfing. It's pretty much what it says it is, but it's a novelty, but it's a catchy, fun novelty. The Malibooz were a surf music band that met as undergraduates at Georgetown, so they're from D.C. They were around for a few years, and when psychedelia hit, they added a female vocalist whose name escapes me now. Changed her name to Sagebrush and Drum, I believe, before splitting up. But for some reason, a couple of members kept in track, and then there was a reunion in the early 80s. And they released an album, I believe, on Rhino Records. And while this song wasn't on the album, they did release a single with this song and another track on the B-side on Rhino. Now, you think I would have heard the single. I actually heard it first time from another record called Christmas Rock. It had, from Rhino Records, I believe it was released in 1982. It had 4 little novelty type Christmas songs. The only one that I know of as an actual cover was a cover of Silent Night. It was a hard driving rock and roll with a little hint of maybe a little touch of punk leaning direction, but in green vinyl. Now, in normal circumstances, it probably would have been a 7-inch single. 4 tracks on 33 RPM. Well, the only reason it wasn't in this case was the vinyl was shaped like a Christmas tree. So even though the playing surface was a 7-inch at best, it was a lot bigger. You had the sleeve that carried it was basically a 12-inch sleeve for obvious reasons. And another thing, I don't know if he's on this song or not, but one of the members of the Malibooz was a man named Walter Egan, who in 1978 would have a hit with the song Bandit and then Steel. Yes, there is a 70s soft rock connection here. I don't know whether this song's considered yacht rock or not, though. Depends on who you ask. But anyway, if you like Jan and Dean, Bruce and Terry, Fantastic Baggies, Beach Boys type vocal surf music, you might want to give that song a spin. You'll get a chuckle out of it. Anyway, next track is going to go in a punk direction, sort of. As you know, yesterday we covered Ice for Christmas by Dick Move, a song you think is a holiday song, uses a common phrase in parts of New Zealand as a response to catcalling, though the band did release as a Christmas song. This one is a little bit different. We're going to 1979 by a one-off group called the Greedy Bastards, aka the Greedies, with a Merry Jingle. Now, this song is a hard rock punk crossover. that mashes together "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" and "Jingle Bells" into one track with a good driving rock beat, some good 70s era chunk that fit the hard rock metal with a little bit of punk flavor in there, and a harmonized guitar solo. Now, I know some of you are thinking, what does that have to do with punk rock? Well, and it goes to show if I explain who was in the Greedy Bastards, aka the Greedies. Two of the members were Steve Jones and Paul Cook, names you'll remember from the Sex Pistols. The remaining members were, on second drums, a man named Brian Downey, the other guitar, Scott Gorham, and on bass and vocals, the late Phil Lynott. Three names you may know if you're into 70s hard rock from the band Thin Lizzy. Yep, Thin Lizzy and the Sex Pistols kind of hooked up for this track. Anyway, I believe it was a moderate hit during the holiday season in 1979 in England. I don't know how far it went on the charts or anything, but you can find it easily to view it on YouTube, them performing on Top of the Pops. It's a pretty catchy little number. It's got enough edge to push it along. It's fun. And before any of you wonder why Thin Lizzy would be hooked up with the Sex Pistols, well, Thin Lizzy was one of the few 70s hard rock groups who, for some reason, managed to avoid being called old farts by a lot of the punks. And apparently they had taken a couple like the post-punk bands on tour with them. I believe Boomtown Rats, but I'll have to look that up. And Phil Lynott would later work with several members of Ultravox on his first solo album, Soul and Soho, especially on the track Yellow Pearl, a techno-pop number that would later end up being the theme to Top of the Pops during a good chunk of the 80s. But anyway, A Merry Jingle by the Greedies. If you haven't heard it before, you'll get a kick out of it. Not only will your rock station not play it, but it's definitely not going to get played on your holiday music station. Which leads us to track number 3 on this. Anyway, we're going to go definitely into comedy here. In fact, a person considered the king of comedy music, king of parodies. From 1986, Christmas at Ground Zero by Weird Al Yankovic. Musically, this is a song about nuclear Armageddon set to a Phil Spector Wall of Sound homage that people think was influenced by the Phil Spector Christmas album, which it probably was. With this lush, full arrangement, horns, everything, strings, all things you expect to hear on the old Phil Spector records. But with lyrics about facing your final destiny, and someone's calling down your chimney, you better load your gun and shoot to kill. And by crazy fluke, we're going to get nuked on this jolly holiday. Reportedly, the story was that Weird Al's label insisted he do a Christmas song. I guess they were assuming that he was going to do something like a cover of I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, or All I Want for Christmas with 2 front teeth. You know, some sort of novelty hit, old one that's established Christmas music. Instead, he gave the label a 60s sound influence Christmas rocker about nuclear Armageddon. Unfortunately, this one you're not going to hear on the radio much because, one, the radio doesn't really play Weird Al that much. I mean, Dr. Demento was a loyal place for him to get airplay, but mainstream radio didn't really play him all that much. And two, unfortunately, after September 11th, 2001, when 2 planes went into Twin Towers, led by a bunch of terrorist assholes, and brought that down, the site of former Twin Towers for years was considered ground zero. So it kind of like twisted where the song wouldn't mean the same anymore, since people referred to that as ground zero instead of the place where nuclear bomb would hit. Which made it a little harder and a little more confusing, especially for younger listeners. I believe there are a couple of tours in more recent years where he's brought that song up. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but I've seen comments on that. But anyway, Christmas at Ground Zero, awesome song. Listen to it today. It's a breezy little thing. And Weird Al has another Christmas song out there that I might bring up tomorrow or maybe a little bit afterwards. But you definitely got to check that out. I mean, it's fun. Our 4th track is a little ditty called It's a Wonderful Life by Fishbone. I believe it's from 1986 as well. Fishbone's first acknowledgement, most people outside of LA punk and new wave scene came about when their first EP came out in 1985, featuring the classic ska anthem Party at Ground Zero. Now, following up right afterwards came It's a Wonderful Life, a Christmas song that I believe actually was about It's a Wonderful Life. Now, in case you're wondering how the hell they avoided getting sued, or whether the lawyers at Columbia Records paid a lot of money, well, there's just one little issue at the time. Now, the trademark's been gotten back by the original owners of It's a Wonderful Life. However, for the longest time, it was public domain. And there were many years through, especially in the 80s and 90s, where it seemed like anytime you watched Christmas television, you almost couldn't switch the channel without some independent television station airing It's a Wonderful Life. And if you had cable, there would be like 5 to 10 times a season you would come across it. It was like, excuse me on that. It was that omnipresent. I mean, nowadays, whoever owns a copyright, I think they may have licensed to NBC. They only release it, air it once on Christmas Eve. A film that's 2.5 hours, close to 3 hours long. People don't know the last 45 minutes. And it's a long story, and it's kind of a dark story. And somebody pointed out, I think it was on the Sons of Liberty social media page, somebody mentioned that that was the first film Jimmy Stewart worked on after coming back from fighting in World War II. So, it's... Now, I could be totally wrong in the meaning of It's a Wonderful Life. I'll try to listen to it. And if it turns out I'm wrong, I'll mention it tomorrow. But it is a song you would get a kick out checking out. It has the high energy you expect from Fishbone. Fishbone was still a little bit in the ska thing. It was around their first album, In Your Face. I think it was spun off on a separate single. It was in that period before the harder rock influence started to get a little more in with the second album, Truth and Soul, in 1988. Which, I'm all a fan of. Truth and Soul is an awesome album. But anyway, It's a Wonderful Life by Fishbone. If you haven't heard it, check it out. I guarantee you will not be hearing that at your local holiday music station. Anyway, that wraps up part 2 of the songs you won't hear on your local Christmas music station. There are some other ones in there. I'm sure there's plenty I'm going to miss on this. But I'll wrap it up with the final 2 tomorrow. Maybe final 3 if I feel up to it. And if it turns out I was wrong with It's a Wonderful Life, I'll let you know. Anyway, this is Bad Doc Boone. I just want to say once again, if you like this video and like our previous videos and want to see more of what we're doing, or see how we're going to evolve with this as things go by, and trust me, we will evolve. Hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so we can let you know when more stuff's coming in your way. Anyway, this is Bad Doc Boone with Bad Doc Boone Sonic Seller. Anyway, to all the guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there, hope everything's going good this holiday season. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, and hope you have a good one. And I hope 2025 didn't grind you under too much. We're going to need all the strength we can with the next year. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. See you around. Bye.